destroys the fish's habitat or distresses the marine ecosystem. There are several types of these practices. Some involve the use of poisons and explosives such as cyanide and blast fishing. Cyanide fishing involves using or spraying a sodium cyanide mixture into the fish's habitat in order to stun the fish. Blast fishing involves using explosives to stun or kill schools of fish for easy collection. Night spear fishing involves using a spear to pierce the fish, and this is usually done at night because the fish are less active. And ghost fishing refers to the nets and traps that are either lost or deliberately cast off at sea. These nets and traps continue to catch fish and other marine life, entangling and eventually suffocating them. Although all of these practices are important to be informed about, I'm going to focus on the practice that is the most devastating to marine life and the marine environment, and that is bottom trawling. Bottom trawling involves dragging large, heavy nets across the ocean floor. These nets have large metal plates and rubber wheels attached to them for easy movement. Everything these nets touch as they are dragged across the ocean floor are crushed and destroyed, whether that's fish or ancient coral reef. Most of these reefs are home and a source of food for many different species of fish and other marine creatures. The recovery period for deep underwater life forms, such as coral, can be anywhere from decades to hundreds of years, and sometimes the damage can even be permanent. This means less habitat for the fish, resulting in the slow extinction of many species. Along with reefs, seabed ecosystems and rock gardens are also disturbed. A study was done that compared trawled areas with pristine portions of a Mediterranean sea canyon, and it was found that the trawled areas contained 52% less organic matter and only half as much diversity. The dragging of the net across the seafloor also stirs up sediment, which can sometimes be toxic, and it creates turbid water that can harm the creatures in the surrounding area. When trawling is done on shallow seafloors, the billowing plumes of sediment are so huge that they can be seen from space. Satellite images show that these clouds of sediment remain hovering in the sea for at least 8 hours after the area has been trawled. But the most important aspect of bottom trawling is that it results in bycatch. Bycatch is the incidental capture and mortality of all unwanted, unsellable, and undersized marine life forms. This includes banned and endangered species. Every year, at least 7.3 million tons of marine life are caught incidentally. This includes about 100 million sharks and 300,000 whales and dolphins. Seabirds, sea lion, and sea turtle populations are also suffering as a result of bycatch. Because these animals are unwanted, they are often thrown back overboard, either dying or dead. Most of the fish that are discarded are juvenile. This results in the inability for these fish to help repopulate their species. There are many cases that exemplify the tragic impact of bycatch. For example, in 2007, it was discovered that the bycatch, which is a freshwater porpoise, had finally succumbed to decades of incidental hooking and is now believed to be extinct. Although bottom trawling in general is a huge cause of bycatch, shrimp trawling is the biggest. Shrimp trawling is the most indiscriminate method of fishing because the small mesh used to retain the shrimp allow for very few other animals to escape. In the worst cases, such as in the Gulf of Mexico, it was found that for every pound of shrimp caught, up to 6 pounds of other species were discarded. So why should we care? Now, it's true that bottom trawling has been banned from many worldwide locations, including the US. However, much of the seafood that we buy at our grocery stores and at our restaurants are imported from countries that are still using this devastating practice. A report from the Natural Resources Defense Council found that 91% of seafood consumed in the US is imported, and shrimp is the #1 seafood imported into the US market. It was also found that nearly every wild-caught foreign fish product sold in the US market violates the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which endangers marine mammals all around the world. Countries that export to the US are supposed to prove that they are using safe fishing practices. However, the US has neglected to enforce this law for several decades. So what can we do? As consumers, we can play a large role in reducing the harm that comes to marine life. So the next time you decide to order a shrimp cocktail, first find out where it came from and consider making a difference with your wallet by only purchasing American-caught wild seafood.